Today we're going to be talking about the best quarterback mechanics drills that you could do without a partner. So all these drills are going to be going over today, you guys, are all drills that you could do at your house, in your room. You don't need a ton of space, and you obviously don't need a receiver to work on your throwing mechanics. So these are some of the best hip rotation, separation, and overall throwing mechanics drills that you can do. So we're in my garage. So this is like garage gym setup, and this is just because raining outside, can't go outside. So I know a lot of you are in colder weather states, maybe don't have access to receivers all the time, but still want to work on your game, and that's what these drills are for. So this first drill is something called a QB walk. So honestly, guys, you could do this within a 5-yard space. I recommend a 10-yard space just so you can get a little bit rhythm going with this drill, but this is working on your hip sequence firing through, okay? And I'm of course going to show a full speed example of this drill in a second, but let me explain why this drill is great for quarterbacks. So as quarterbacks, where does my throw power come from? It comes from my hip rotation, right? My hips have to be able to rotate, but a lot of quarterbacks rotate their hips at the wrong time. Throwing a football, let's say this, throwing a football with power is a lot like hitting a baseball. Your hips have to fire through before your upper body. Like the bat, you want to pretend like the football is the bat. Your hips have to come through before your arm, before your shoulder, and that creates something called torque, and torque is what leads to velocity. So when we go to throw, the mistake is a lot of guys know to rotate, but their shoulders, their hips, their front stride, everything comes open all at once. So there's no torque there. There's no hip and shoulder separation, right? If I'm in the batter's box and I'm hitting a pitch comes to me, I step to the pitcher, I keep the bat loaded. I keep some weight on my back leg, then my hips fire through, and that brings the bat through. So as a quarterback, when I go to throw, I want to make sure in my base, I have some weight loaded on my back leg, my shin is straight, my knee, my foot, and my head are all stacked on top of each other. So when I step to the target, I maintain some weight back here. I say keep a flashlight on your knee and keep the flashlight pointed towards the sideline, right? So when that flashlight's pointed towards the sideline, your shoulders can stay back, and now guess what can happen? When that front foot's down, we can transfer my weight, hips fire through, and that creates velocity. So this QB walk is working on the first part of that throwing sequence. So the rhythm of this, if you're a right-handed quarterback, is you're going to have some weight load on your back leg, you step left, you step right, then you step left into the ground, and your hips and shoulders fire through like so. So I'll show you again. Left, right, left, hips go through. Left, right, left, hips go through. So again, 10-yard space, left, right, left, hips fire through, shoulders stay back, weight stays back. Left, right, left, working that all the way for a 10-yard space. So I'm going to show you how this should look full speed. I recommend doing about 4 sets of that 10-yard space. Now, before we get into the full speed example of that QB walk, if you're a quarterback and you would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches this offseason, we are coming out to 11 more states across the country for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps. Half of those 11 camps are completely sold out, fellas, but the camps where we have remaining spots are going to be in Buffalo, New York, then we'll be coming out to Nashville, Tennessee, Atlanta, Georgia, Houston, Texas, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Detroit, Michigan, Boise, Idaho, and Los Angeles, California. So guys, all of those camps will sell out in about a month to 2 months. So make sure if you guys are local to one of those cities and plan on training with myself, my staff, check out that very first link in the description below. That's where you can sign up. So guys, we'd love to have you out there. Again, very first link below. Let's get back to this video. Now, this next drill, you guys, is something called a straight jacket. So a straight jacket, I'm sure some of you have maybe heard of a straight jacket before. That's something that they put like crazy people in so they can't use their arms. That's essentially what you are going to be doing with your arms on this drill. So remember when we throw as a quarterback, right? That hip walk was working on the first part of the throwing sequence. You're in your base. You make sure that that shin is straight, knee, foot, and head are all stacked on top of each other. You stride to the target, but we keep my weight back. Now, what has to come through? What brings my shoulders and the ball through? It's my hips. So my back hip has to fire, front hip has to rotate open, and then the ball comes out of my hand. So this straight jacket is kind of putting everything together to work on that hip rotation and the hips firing before my shoulders do. So you're starting out in that straight jacket position, arms are going to be crossed, weights on the back leg. It's the same rhythm as that QB walk. So you're going left, right, you step, and what happens when we step? Where does my weight stay? Back leg, front shoulder rotates. Now what we do, and I'm not a big believer in like, oh, every single quarterback has to drag their foot, but I recommend on this drill dragging your foot through just to keep this drill smooth and to make sure that your hips rotate through. If you guys pick your foot up on this drill, you're not going to get as much out of it, and if you just pivot, you're not going to get as much out of the drill. So you have to drag only on this drill, not when we normally throw. So to recap, again, we're going left, right, left, we step, my shoulders rotate, and then the hips bring the upper half through. The upper half stays quiet. You are doing this drill wrong if your front side rips open open really fast before your back hip. Let the hips bring the upper half through. Just like in a throwing motion, you stride to the target, weight stays back, the hips bring the upper half through. So again, I'll show you how this should look full speed, like full go in a second, but we're here, left, right, left, hips bring that upper half through. Recommend doing this for about 4 sets of a 10-yard space. Now this next drill for hip rotation for quarterbacks, I call this a med ball stabilizer throw. So essentially what this is working on is just the amount of power and force that you could create with your hips and with your core. I think one of the common mistakes that quarterbacks will make, like, you know, they hear either myself or other quarterback coaches talk a lot about the hips, talk about the timing of the hips rotating through. But what a lot of guys will do is, like, let's say I'm throwing in this direction. They'll stride to the target, they'll stay back, whatever, and then they just kind of like pivot with their hips, and almost like their weight stays back. They're not transferring any weight. They're not creating any force from their hips. Like when you look like it's somebody who's hitting a baseball in the batter's box, what do? They stride and they're shooting everything through to let that bat go. That's essentially what you want to do with your lower body, your hips, your core as a quarterback. So this drill works on that, but also maintains those same principles of separation like that first drill we showed did. So what you do is you need a medicine ball for this. I recommend, if you're like a youth quarterback, I would say anywhere from 6 to probably 8 pounds. If you're a little bit, like if you're older, maybe middle school aged, high school age, I would say like anywhere from 10 to 15 pounds. Kind of obviously varies on your strength. You want to be able to control the weight, but you still want to feel some resistance because we are going to be throwing this medicine ball on this drill. So you're balancing on your throwing side foot. So you're going to stay on your throwing side foot. You're going to have this medicine ball here. You're going to have a slight lean forward and a slight sit into your throwing side leg. Do not have your knee go past your toe. Just try to sit your butt down slightly and lean forward. So what you're going to do is you're going to rotate your left shoulder and try to get it even with the right knee. What does that look a lot like? That looks a lot like when we're in my throwing sequence. I'm standing here, my weight's back. Remember, shin straight, foot, knee, head stacked on top of each other. I step to the target. What am I supposed to do? My shoulders are supposed to rotate back and I'm supposed to maintain my base. That's essentially the first part of this drill. So you're going to be here holding the medicine ball like so. You're going to rotate back and then you're going to shoot this medicine ball through and let go, and you are trying to throw this as hard as you can. I recommend doing 3 sets of 6 to 8 reps on this leg, but those 6 to 8 reps have to be all-out effort reps because we're working on explosiveness, and to work on your explosiveness, you have to actually explode in the gym when you're doing these types of exercises, or on the field, right? So we're here again, we rotate back, we shoot through. Make sure when we do this, the left leg does not stay here. We don't want to fall back. We want that left leg to kick through as we let go of the ball. So I'm going to show you how this should look full speed.